coffee, and we are ready to begin right on the hour. First off, please sign in and take roll by signature sheet. It is in the back. We have a sheet for our guests as well, so please feel free to sign in. And please do sign in, our guests. First off, we'll start off with introducing our guests, and we will start in the back, please.
Lois Kuyper-Rushing, LSU Libraries. Cathy, Academic Affairs. Sasha, Thackaberry, LSU Online.
Jeremiah Shinn, Student Affairs.
Ryan Landry, Academic Affairs. For 7 LSU ITS.
Are there any additional guests? All right, thank you all. Thank you for your presence. I have quite a number of proxies and alternates, so this could take a while. Brace yourself. Okay, and I apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Please do correct me so that I can learn from my errors. All right, Matt Vongel for Anessa Basu. Nick Tataro for Doran Boulder. Brandy Conrad for Chantel Chauvin. Constantine Bush for Jinwoo Choi. Faraday Agazadeh for Ali Ali. Carl Matzenbacher for Kelly Scott Kelly, Michael Desmond, and Lauren Lazaro. Jason Wolf for Meredith Feldman. Joan King for Prasanta Chakrabarty. Catherine Henninger for Chris Barrett. Fife Korai for Robert Newman. Fabio Del Piero for Juan Martinez. Cassandra Cheney for Lily Allen. Jeffrey Brooks for Will Monroe. Suzanne Stoffer for Brenton Stewart. Tracy Quirk for Nan Walker. Mustajab Mirza for Kirk Ryan. Cathy Williams for Kristen Stair. James Matthews for Shane Stadler. And Doug Gilman for John Hoyzon. Are there any additional proxies or alternates? All right, thank you all, and thank you for taking on the responsibilities of your colleagues. Oh, sorry,
I'm also a proxy for Brett.
Cathy Williams for Brett Collier. Okay, Cathy Williams for Brett Collier. All right, any more? All right, thank you for responsibly finding proxies and alternates. It's much appreciated. Okay, next up, are there any public comments put forth for today's agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward with the minutes that have been distributed for a while back, barring any minor corrections related to grammar, spelling, or other verbiage, which can be sent to myself or Susanna. Is there a motion to accept the minutes? All right, Fred, a second?
Second.
All right. Lisa? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? All right, thank you very much. All right, so before I begin the President's report, I wanted to, first of all, welcome you. But as you know, our university has been hit with some very bad news, very sad news over the last few weeks. And that is, we've lost 3 of our shining stars in a very short period of time. I would like to, before we go any farther, to request a moment of silence to remember those shining stars that are lost. All of LSU grieves when one of us is lost. We also want to support those that have been left behind, those closest to them, that have been left behind and are, of course, devastated by their loss. So if I can just ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. And Provost, please pass on our condolences to the families of the lost. All right, next up, before we get too far into the report, some points of order. The spring spring schedule has been revised, as you have seen. There's copies in the back, and we did this to more equitably distribute the meetings among the days of the week. So please update your calendars accordingly. Next, we have put together a who's who of faculty senate. So you all have your images on a nice little PowerPoint that Ms. Knoll has put together. This will identify people not only by their name and home college, but, well, that's how it'll be identified. And I think it'll help put a name to a face or a face to a name, or, well, you can do whatever you want with it, I suppose. But we do have a few copies up here, paper copies. So those, I'll put them in the back, and those of you who would like them can pick them up. Additionally, we'll put this up on the Faculty Senate website. So again, for me, it's always helpful to put a name to a face, because facial recognition is always something we'll work on. We also have a very enthusiastic group. We're scholars and thinkers and doers, and as such, we tend to be among the most quizzical and questioning. So when our guests are here, there are numerous questions. I do ask, so as not to overwhelm our poor guests with your unbridled enthusiasm, that you raise your hand back to the days of elementary school, and we will call on you. If it should be that you don't get called on, much like I didn't the first day of school for my entire elementary education, then please feel free to stand up and wave your arms. Now, I don't encourage you to do this as a first course of action, but it's always good to be prepared. So, please do plan accordingly. All right, next on to the President's report. All right, so first up, some updates from the Board of Supervisors meeting on, notably enough, Friday the 13th. The new chair of the board was sworn in. Miss Mary Warner is the new chair. She is a strong supporter of LSU, and her son is a current student of our fine institution. Her mother was also a previous chair of the board. We look forward to her leadership in the coming year. Some tidbits from the reports at the meeting. An outside firm was contracted to assess the university operations and facilities. They met with 32 focus groups. Some or all of you may have been part of those focus groups. The report was comprehensive and well presented. Some notable take-home messages from the report. LSU cannot maintain the facilities. There was a distinction between planned versus reactive maintenance and how that complicates efficiency in maintaining maintenance. The deferred maintenance will exceed over $1 billion by, by 2026, as I understand it. Further, LSU has been borrowing against our assets for a bit too long. There is nothing left to borrow against. EVP and CFO Dan Mazel also pointed out the dire state of our crumbling walls, as well as the fact that 90 cents of every dollar that LSU puts to retirement goes toward the unfunded pension liability. At the present rate, the unfunded liability is scheduled to be paid off in 2042. In other news, you may recall that the campus funding formula was revised to decrease the importance of research, or to put less emphasis on research. This is a bit of a blow to the budget of an R1 research university. I put forth that everyone in this room is a teacher. Teaching is among the most admirable and honorable profession that requires absolute devotion to the future of our state, country, and ultimately our world. Teachers tirelessly inspire, challenge, motivate, and doggedly educate future generations. Okay, according to the Pay Scale 2019-2020 report, early and mid-career salaries of LSU graduates are among the top of our SEC peers. Two exceptions are Tennessee A&M and Vanderbilt, both of which have billion-dollar endowments, and I'm not even going to bring up the whole football score thing at this point. The characteristic that distinguishes us from our peer, however, is our devotion and contributions to research. The dreamers, composers, conductors, investigators of our LSU lead the charge to discover. create, and solve feats that are unimaginable by many. Remember that it is only those who seek to overcome the impossible that inspire others to do the same. Perhaps this message should be very strongly reinforced by those who represent us. On a related note, I have received quite a few queries, as have others, about the potential for raises in the new year. You may have heard from your leaders, as I have from mine, that, well, to put it realistically, best to stock up on the frozen pizzas and boxed wine and re-up the Netflix, because it looks like we'll be eating in for a while. Because it looks like there is not going to be a raise in the near future. I'd like to harken back to my earlier point raised by the firm that concluded that LSU has borrowed against our assets for too long. That bank is empty. The faculty are a core asset to the university, I think. And the question then is, how much is left in that bank? On the topic of football, there are those of us among you who have been a bit alarmed by the overall message from our great football colleagues. From no females on the sidelines, to a pre-game scuffle with Texas, to threats of retaliation for putting the LSU band in the rarefied air of the top seats in Texas. It's been forth that some of this rather contentious messages may be contributing to ugly and entirely unacceptable behavior, as evidenced by our own student who elected to harass other students at an LSU football game by calling them racial slurs. This is not our university. This is not what we represent. And this clouds our actual contributions and atmospheric diversity, which has received a number of citations. So, given the status of our football team, they have amazing stature and influence on the local and national communities. A single negative event tends to overshadow the real LSU culture. As I've already said, that's exemplified by multiple awards and diversity. The status of the football team could be better used to guide and encourage professional, inclusive, and thoughtful behavior among those who look up to them. On a happy note, you have likely heard that VP of StratCom Jim Saborin will soon be joining us. We look forward to great things and could perhaps suggest a starting point for his endeavors. On the topic of the computer system, this is a point of some contention for which there seems to be no consensus. Opinions range from glowing to glowering. In any case, two things you might want to look into. Workday security might not be all that it could be. There is no selective access to grant information. So if you want to know what I do with my research funds, you could go ahead and have a look. I hope you have better things to do with your time, but just in case, there is no selective access to grant information. So you can view your colleagues doing this. On a second note, you may want to sharpen up those good old number 2s and pencils and fill up the office supply closets, because, my friend, it appears that good old-fashioned tree pulp is the backup should our legacy system go down. So be prepared. Nonetheless, there's hope and help and good friends in IT who work tirelessly to keep us afloat, accessible, and efficient. So please be sure to share your feedback and thoughts to help them with our mission going forward. I know all of you love meetings and can't wait till your next one and are looking for more. So, with that said, I hope you will consider additional committee service. We do have Cathy Williams here on behalf of the Committees on Committees, and as you'll recall, that is a real thing, and it is the way that we populate committees, faculty senate committees. So she will be passing out, there were sheets in the back, and so you can grab them and nominate all your friends or former friends, preferably yourself or anyone in between. So please do. And on that note, Professor McMillin will be recruiting for a committee to update, revise, realign, and generally streamline the bylaws. He'll be looking for volunteers or naive nominees, or both, really. All right. The OEA will be putting together a committee on smoking, tobacco, inhalants, and vaping, also known as STIP. We look forward to the actions and advice of the committee. And on that same topic, the FSEC is planning a forum on the topic of STIP are, again, smoking, tobacco, inhalants, and vaping, and the implications on freedom of expression. So, more on that soon. The FSEC will also be resurrecting the deemed seminars, typically one per semester. Also keep your eyes open for that. The adjudication committee is almost fully populated and will be called together shortly to consider matters of some urgency that have been on hold while the committee was restored. We will be moving forward. And before concluding, I really do want to acknowledge the hard work of our administration. They meet with the FSEC regularly and ask for feedback and insight. And insight from a faculty perspective, I should say. I can't stress how responsive and genuine they are, and we are very fortunate to have such a great administration to work with. With that, I thank you for your service, time, and some days sheer fortitude, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. All right, thank you then. So first up, we have, first up is our if you want to.
Just reiterate what Dr. Lopez said. I'm on the committee, on committees, and our charge is to fill committees, which is quite a task when people see you coming and they hide from you because they don't want to be on another committee. But we have 4 or 5, the Benefits Advisory Committee, the Committee on Committees, Budget and Planning, and the General Education, Integrated Learning Corps, and the Library Committee. We need people. And these are elected committees by us. So if you would pick up a ballot in the back, you can nominate yourself or a colleague, and then we'll collect these at the end and be in touch, because for the election, we'll have to have a little bio and have a ballot to bring to the Senate meeting when the time comes.
Right.
So,
you didn't mention the faculty adjudication committee. Am I right in thinking that that committee now has plenty of members and it's up and running?
correct.
So as you recall from our meeting, in which we went into executive session, do you recall from the meeting where we went into executive session to repopulate the executive committee? And Professor McMillin has been working tirelessly to repopulate it. We have most of the members now, and we will be calling them together to explain their mission and elect a chair. That will happen very shortly. We will, at that time, establish staggered terms so that the new members will start to be elected.
When do you expect they'll actually start to handle cases?
We hope and plan and have every intention within the next 2 weeks. We will go forward with the 7 members that we have.
Thank you.
Additional questions? It's actually, yeah. Additional questions, Professor Williams? All right. Next up, a man who needs no introduction, our own professor, our vice president, sorry, Jeremiah Shinn.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for having me today. It's a pleasure to speak before the faculty Senate at LSU, and I appreciate your service. Universities run because of work of bodies like this, and so know that even when it doesn't seem like it, it's much appreciated. I've been at LSU now for about 3 months, and as I've gone around campus talking to some of you and some of your colleagues, a common question is, well, what do you do? And so I said, well, I actually respond to a lot of email and go to a lot of meetings, much like you all do. But that's my job. My work really is a little bit different. When I think about my work, I really think about some of our student stories. I think about a woman from Ville Platte, Louisiana, which is one of the most economically depressed places in the United States, and certainly in Louisiana. And despite all of her odds, despite her family not attending college, despite her boyfriend back home not coming to college, despite there not being really any drive for her to go, she made it. She made it to LSU just by sheer force of will. She had a great guidance counselor, and she lives in McVoy Hall. And so I think about her a lot. The work that I do and the work that our division does is geared toward helping her realize her potential, and certainly the work you do is geared toward realizing her potential. I know that if we do our jobs, if she feels like she matters here, if she feels like she belongs, if she gets the service that she needs, if she connects on campus, she will be back this time next year. If she doesn't, she might not. And she would live a fine life if she didn't come back, but she had the cure for cancer in her head, and we let it get away. And so I think all the time about how do we build our programs, services, events, experiences, and culture so that that woman from Ville Platte can come to LSU and have a value-added experience, because she deserves it and she's capable of it. So I think about her a lot. So she is my work, even when my job sometimes seems a little different. The Division of Student Affairs is here to support students in the 153 hours they spend outside the classroom so that they can be the best they can be when they're inside the classroom. We want them to be well, we want them to be well rested, we want them to be socialized, happy, and ready to be great students, because we know that those 15, 16, 17 hours they spend inside the classroom, coupled with the time that they're spending studying for class, that's why they're at LSU. So we take very seriously the time that we have to spend with them in our various programs, services, events, and experiences. And I don't assume that you all know what those are, so I just want to briefly explain sort of what exists in the Division of Student Affairs so that you're able to see how students are spending that 153 hours that you're not seeing them. So the first thing is residential life. So in our residence halls, we have 21 residence halls and 12 different sort of sophomore and above apartment complexes, and we house about 7,676 students as of last week. So we have a lot of students living with us on campus. We have 500 student employees working in residential life, and so there's a huge impact there outside the classroom. We also have the Student Health Center. The Students Health Center saw 47,000 students, not unique students, but we had 47,000 appointments in our Student Health Center last year, 12,000 of which were for mental health appointments. And so that's something that's helping students be better when they get into the classroom. Our Career Center is working on a model where we become a career competent campus. We want to be the kind of campus that everywhere students turn, there are opportunities to add to their employability skills. Of course, that's happening inside the classroom. It's also happening outside the classroom and in internships and externships and preceptorships and what have you. So we are working with the Olin Career Center as our hub to develop a career competent campus where students have the best opportunity to go on and earn those high, mid, early, and late career earnings as was suggested earlier. Our University Recreation Center, we had 750,000 swipes last year. That's 750,000 unique uses of the facility last year. And certainly a large percentage of our students go there several times a week, and that's where they sort of recreate. They play intramural sports, they exercise, and do those things that we know map to them being more academically successful, again, when they're inside the classroom. And then the last thing I'll mention is our Dean of Students office, which is a collection of units ranging from veteran services to students with disabilities to conduct to advocacy to Greek life to campus life, and a few other things. We see about 2,500 conduct cases every year. We have about 2,400 students that are registered with our disability services. So this is an area that is serving students sometimes in their greatest moment of need. And certainly those of you that have been here for a while have interfaced with that, either on the conduct side or the students with disabilities side. So when I arrived here, one of the things that I started talking with our staff about is a need to shift some attitudes, a need to shift some priorities, and a need to shift some practices. And I just want to lay those out for you. A, so you'll know about them, but B, we want to be held accountable to these things as members of this university community. We believe that we can best serve you inside the classroom if we're doing these sorts of things outside the classroom. So the first are the attitudes that we hope that all of our staff will have. We're going to work with an increased sense of urgency. The world is changing, education is changing fast, and we need to have a little bit of a pep in our step. So in our division, there's not going to be time to drag feet. We have to move forward swiftly and fast in a way perhaps that we never have, which kind of goes into our second one. We're going to work at an accelerated pace of change. Again, the world is changing. The need to change with it has never been greater. And so as I'm talking with our staff and as we're talking about how to better support students during those 153 hours, we talk about needing to change faster than we have. and faster than some of us are comfortable changing, but that's what we're doing because we've not only got some catch up, but we really need to get ahead because the future will be here very quickly. We are going to prioritize institutional objectives first. LSU is a storied institution with some amazing things that you all are involved with. We're not going to do our own thing. We're going to get in the boat with you and do the things that map to student success inside the classroom. And so one of the things that I'm asking my staff to do is first and foremost, regardless of the things that might be our areas of passion, let's prioritize LSU's objective first. When we do that, we believe that our students will leave here highly employable and having had a really great LSU experience. I'm asking people to be unequivocally LSU-centric. Sometimes I've noticed that on college campuses we spend a lot of time as individual units trying to distinguish ourselves from one another. I'm asking my staff to spend as much time distinguishing themselves as LSU, right? So it's not about separating ourselves from the pack, it's about figuring out how we can be more LSU next year than we were last year. And I think about it like this. We have a student who, and all of us, all of our program services, events, and experiences, we want them to know these things, right? The problem is that when everybody from my division and everybody from across campus is saying, no, we want you to know this and competing for student attention, LSU shows up a bit more like this. And so when LSU shows up a bit more like this, when we are competing for students' attention, we're not serving the student. And so what I've asked is, how do we get to the place where our students leave here with this? We want them to truly love LSU because LSU is the thing that we want them to have affinity for, and LSU is the reason that they came. And so one of the things that we're doing is really focusing in on being unequivocally LSU-centric before our own departments, before our division, because we believe it's in the best interest of students. We're going to collaborate, we're not going to duplicate. And so a lot of the things that we do come from a good place, but we can achieve more through collaboration. We know there is no more space, there is no more resources, there are no more staff. And so we're going to get the most we can from what we have. And actually, I believe that we can not only do more with what we have, I think we can do better with what we have when we adopt a collaborative mindset, because that unleashes the entire, it unleashes all of our creativity. And so far, we're not availing ourselves of the creativity to the extent that we could be, at least in our division. And then the last thing is obvious, and it's how great organizations run, but we're going to align everything that we do around a coherent strategy. Everything we do is going to be done for a reason that's carefully weighed against all the other things that we could have done. And by doing that, we believe we can create a far more tightly knit group of experiences for our students. Our priorities, we're going to focus on quality. We want to be better next year than we were last year in every single thing that we do, because we have the most diverse class in LSU history. We're going to focus on inclusion and access. We want to be sure that we're serving all of our students in the way that they deserve to be served. And so we're going to look at every single thing that we do to be sure that it's as inclusive and accessible as it can be. And we're going to focus on mattering and belonging. We know that when students feel like they matter and belong at a university, they do better in the classroom, they're more likely to stay, they engage in less high-risk behavior, they engage in more pro-social behavior, and so we're going to surround them with a sense of mattering and belonging in our residence halls, in our programs, on the way that we answer the phone. We're going to surround them with messages that say, no, you actually belong here. You can make it here, and we want to help you. We want to help you not only survive here, but excel here. And so this is something I've asked every single person in our division to find a way to do more of, because we absolutely know that it matters not only for retention, but for success down the road. And then our practices, this is where the creativity comes in. We know that when everybody is operating at peak capacity, we're going to know a few things. We will be described as a division that is first and foremost easy to work with. We want to be easy to work with. We want to be a division that solves problems. We don't want to kick the problems down the road, and we also don't want to use policy as an excuse for why we can't do things. So we're going to be folks that solve problems, and we're not going to care who gets the credit. We want to share the credit, and frankly, LSU gets the credit. And so when we're doing our jobs, when we're practicing this work the way that we can be, should be, we won't care who gets the credit. We're going to be problem solvers, and we're going to be really easy to work with, and we look forward to working with all of you in that. So I appreciate the time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the Division of Student Affairs or how we can work together. But more than that, I just appreciate the opportunity to be before you today. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm an advisor to a student organization on campus. Went to the orientation, and I was notified that the clubs are going to have to get their own insurance, their liability insurance. They used to be covered. So anytime our group does anything, they're going to have to go up and get their own policy. Is there a way that LSU could solve that problem for the students so they could be engaged and not have to deal with that type of bureaucracy?
What is the, if you don't mind me asking, what is the club that you're the advisor for?
Oh, it's the Sustainable Agriculture Club, but they told all of the clubs that are the advisors that they were going to have to get insurance. And I haven't had time to even look into this. You were there too, right, Cathy? And I was mystified. They said that the law had changed, I think. And so the students were going to have to either become officially part of the department where they have a budget line in the department, or they have to get their own event insurance, where they have to have like a $1 million insurance policy to have a club sale. This is what it was explained to us.
If I can get your card at the end of when I'm taking off, I'll be sure to have an answer for you on that. Because I don't have the answer right now.
Okay. If you could just look into it, because we were just
Is this something you'll have to talk
shocked,
to risk
you know.
management about, because this was
Sure.
an issue a couple of years ago.
Right. Yeah. So that's something I'll need to dig in on just a little bit. So I will respond to you. Anything else I can be helpful with? Yes.
I was wondering, you mentioned two things. One was the number of students with disability, and the other one was...
Number of, I just referenced that and the number of conduct cases.
Right. Do you have any trend line on that? Or is the trend going down, going up?
Well, the trend on both is going up, actually. And some of that has to do with we have larger entering classes, but certainly the trend on our students registering with disabilities is trending up, even if you factor in the increase in enrollment. And that's largely because, well, a few things. They're doing a little bit better job in high schools of getting people registered and finding appropriate accommodations. So students are coming to college with a little bit more experience knowing what to ask for. And so that's one of the trends that we're seeing. But both of those are trending up. One of them actually would be trending up, even factoring in that we've increased in students.
You mean you normalize the mental...
Right. Yeah. Even per student, our students with disabilities is increasing.
You know why we have so many mental difference at the students?
It runs. It's not just mental health issues. I mean, there are anything from learning disabilities to physical disabilities.
No, you were talking about the 48,000.
47,000 visits to the health center, and then 12,000 to our mental health
What's
center.
the trend on it? That's going up too.
That I don't know. Yes, sir.
I'd like to recommend that the students be allowed to keep their LSU email addresses throughout their life. There's a lot of institutions, like I've got business friends who have Yale email addresses that they can keep forever as a source of pride for their institutions. But 6 months after the students are gone, if I want to check up on a high-level student and how they're doing, I can't find them.
Yes.
Under our rules at LSU, it's the student organizations and leaders' responsibility to make sure all their members do basic training. I don't believe that's a really good way to be doing it. Students, relying on students to do training. I think it would be better if we tried to do it at orientation or before they can register for classes. They have to do this online trainings, so that the university is responsible for it, not an individual leader of the student organization.
Yeah, and I think and the question is about hazing and hazing training. I think we're in kind of uncharted territory. As you know, Louisiana has a very different law than most states do, and I think that it's very well intended. I think sorting out how to best equip our students to be compliant with that is something we've got a lot more work to do. I think that what you're seeing was the first attempt to get in compliance, and I have no doubt that we will improve quite a bit from this year to next year just based on what we already know.
I think it's not just organizations that should do it, but every student in the university.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I have so many
That's
questions.
okay.
I took a poll in my class the other day. About 10% of students had, no, about 5% of them had downloaded LSU Shield. And that's a very important safety factor. Why there are not much participation? Is there any way you guys can promote it?
I know that we promote it every chance that we get, all right? I mean, I know that it's promoted, and I wasn't here for the full orientation season, but I know that it's promoted heavily in orientation. I know that Welcome Week, there are many different ways that it's promoted, and so we're going to have to get creative and figure out, because in my mind, if the message isn't getting across, then we haven't sent it yet, right? So we have to be better, I think, on our end about figuring out how to get that message to students, because if they're not responding, then we have to perhaps communicate it differently than we have. And so that's something I've heard. That's actually the second time today I've heard that.
Yeah, I think it's Professor McMillin and then Professor Shinn.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr.
Yes, sir.
We know that when students go away from home, and a lot of our students, even if they're Baton Rouge natives, do live in the dorms now because of our requirement. And that chaplains they establish as independent individuals to kind of follow them through. What efforts are we taking to promote health and wellness, particularly with anti-smoking, anti-vaping, because those are serious health concerns. In Reveille today, there are examples of students just flat out flagrantly violating a university policy, which is against code of student conduct.
Sure.
So what are we going to do in your division, and how will your division lead the university so that students understand it's not only a policy violation, it will affect their health for years to come?
Sure. Well, I think, and I think that the number of things that we're doing, I'm not going to be able to do justice. I saw there was a request or a question about this a couple of weeks ago, and I asked our health center to respond. And there's a lot of things that we are doing. I think that the vaping piece is something I don't know that we've got our arms around quite yet. It's being included as a part of other education that we're doing, both through our health center education and actually in our residence hall floor meetings and all of that. So I'm confident that we're doing a lot using the resources we have. I think that probably the more we learn about the vaping thing, I think it's going to cause us to change our approach in some ways. And so that's something that we're going to work really closely with the health center to be sure that we're doing whatever is the best practice across the country, which I don't know who is having more success than we are at doing that. So that's a question to be answered far better than I can today.
What about students who are identified on the Reveille website as actually smoking in the quad? That's a clear violation, and if we don't take action, then every student is going to think they can violate whatever policy they want.
Sure. Yeah, that's an enforcement issue, and there's certainly I've had some interesting conversations about how that enforcement happens, and I don't know that we're all on the same page with that, but certainly that's a question, that's a conversation that's being had, because certainly that's been brought to my attention a number of times, and will continue to be until we stick the landing on that.
Very strong. All right.
Wait, oh, can I do a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. On the back page of the rolling slide list, we've got help stop hazing at LSU. Why can't we be doing some things like this with the vaping? Now we know what the symptoms are for this lung disease that's cropping up across the country, but in Louisiana. Why can't we be putting stuff like this out? Why can't the athletic department help us on football Saturdays put some stuff like this out? I'm just asking you a question, which I've been asking for 19 years.
Yes, absolutely. Keep asking. I can't speak for the athletic department, obviously, but I do know that on the vaping piece, for instance, one of the great ways that we were able to get that message out, during Welcome Week, there was a very well attended skit, right? I mean, it's the evening in the PMAC, and I know that there was a good amount of attention dedicated to helping people understand the issue. Now, enforcement, awareness is one piece, enforcement is another piece, and so we've got to sort of figure all that out. But But I do know that our health center is working hard to at least get the word out that this is probably not something you want to be a part of. The enforcement, though, is certainly something else we've got to grapple with.
But we have never, ever had a public, constant message from the administration that this is our policy, and this is why it's our policy, and this is why it needs to be enforced. Never. Just saying.
All right, thank you.
All right.
This is helpful for me because, again, I've been here for 3 months, and so I'm just sort of learning about catching up on what has happened, what hasn't happened, and where I need to spend some time. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. Happy to stop by anytime you have questions about what's happening in student affairs and around students writ large. So thank you for having me, and I'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Well, thank you very much.
I would say one other thing. These are some folders that are designed by our Dean of Students office that have basically, and some of you may have these, but it's how to work with students in need, what to do with concerns that you might have. There's not enough for everyone, but I will certainly leave these here if you're interested in grabbing those. On the inside, it says what to do with a student from academic misconduct to an active shooter. And I mean, there's what to do in all of these instances. So if you're interested, I'll put these up there.
Well, welcome to LSU.
Thanks, great to be here.
Thank you for everything. All right, next up, our very own Vice Provost of Digital and Continuing Education, Sasha Thackaberry.
Well, thank you for the introduction. So I think the last time I was here was last year. Well, that would make sense. And we've made a lot of progress since then. So thank you for the invitation to come, and I welcome all of your questions afterwards. So I cannot solve the vaping problem. One of the great advantages of being online is that you don't have to deal with those kinds of physical things, which is one of the advantages. And I also just wanted to echo something that Jeremiah had said. One of the things that we're working on really hard, because there is so much to do. It's just this huge challenge that we're trying to wrap our arms around, is we call it ruthlessly prioritize. So spend your time doing the things that matter. And then the other thing I like to tell the team, which only the people who've actually seen Fight Club understand this, is the ability to let that which does not matter truly slide. So we're trying to really spend all of our time focusing on the things that are going to help our students drive enrollment, increase quality, and make this program sustainable. So, with that, you've probably heard these things 50 million times. If you haven't, if you're new to my spiel, these are our 3 goals. And these goals have transformed really into our mission statement as a unit. So LSU Online is a brand within digital and continuing education. And we have 3 goals and 3 goals only. High quality educational programs, first and foremost, for a couple of different reasons. One, it's our mission, right? And 2, we protect the brand. So we are what protects LSU in the virtual space. 2, world-class customer service. When I first came here, and this is month, I think, 20 for me, there was a lot of consternation around using those words, customer service. So really contextualizing very firmly that that is outside of the classroom. Right? That is not inside the virtual classroom. We don't treat our students like customers, but we also shouldn't make them send their transcripts 15 times. We should make it easy for them to apply, easy for them to get admitted if they're academically qualified, and make sure we're removing barriers for our post-traditional students. And then finally, and importantly, a sustainable fiscal model, right? So it's interesting too, because we're not doing this to make money. There's demand. So this is what our students need. So in order to serve those needs, we have to have a sustainable financial model, because none of us work for free, and it isn't easy and it isn't cheap to educate people well. So I actually just found this visual today. I thought this was really interesting. So we serve a lot of the traditional students, right? The 18 to 22-year-olds, people on research path, some of our post-traditional learners in specific fields we serve, but we have a lot of students that we're not reaching right now. And as a land, sea, and space grant, apparently what's the 4th one? There's like a 4th grant now that we're not, forget what it is, like quantum grant, I don't know, it's something really, really big. But as this institution, it is 100% part of our mission to serve all of our students. And it's not, online is not a coming of age experience. That's not why people go to complete their degrees online or get a degree online. And even our traditional students have changed. So 95% of faculty, 95% of you all, have a Moodle site for your class, right? Whether it's just for grades, just for posting things, whether you're doing discussions on it, whatever you're doing, it's because our student looks different. And not just physically, I was making a joke earlier, we are all cyborgs now. Now, like I'm literally standing up here with this, maybe that's a little excessive, but I was making notes on it, and so I wanted to make sure I was saying a few things. Have any of you seen the picture of the people in front of the Vatican? Have you seen this? So there's one from like 15 years ago, and everyone's got cameras, and they're taking pictures with cameras. And now there's ones where literally everyone has a screen. It's just a whole sea of screens taking pictures of the Pope. It's a really amazing thing to see if you consider it's like literally within the span of 10 years. Pace of change is accelerating. Also another thing that I want to amplify from Jeremiah. And then this is our core student demographic. So I thought this would be really interesting to see. It says, elaborate on your ideal customer profile. This is not our ideal. This is our existing. In fact, it's really important that we open it up to additional customer profiles. But it is the mid-career millennial, so average age 34. Slightly greater percentage of our online students are women than our on-campus students. About 50% have kids. We know that from national data, not because we actually poll our students on if they have children or not. The average family income, and that is household income, that's not individual learner. Household income is under $70,000 for undergrad, about 80%. And about 80% are under $80,000 for a graduate degree. So finishing an undergraduate degree or getting a graduate degree really fundamentally changes families' lives. The goal is family sustaining wages, not just a job, but a meaningful job, meaningful work. So this is really interesting. I always find it interesting, but it's my field, so I would. Why are they choosing the university? And actually, there's some interesting data on why sometimes they're not choosing the university too. But it's to advance in their career, switch careers, or return to the workplace. That's it. That's really it. Very rarely you see someone who is coming to get an advanced degree or coming to finish a degree who wants to be a researcher. It's just not the primary audience. These are folks who want to apply their degree. Every once in a while, you will have someone who goes to get a master's to go back to a PhD elsewhere, but it's really most common that these are degrees that are being used now. And actually, I have a story to illustrate that in a little bit. And why do they choose the university they choose? And again, this is national data. I think this is from the Babson survey. Number one is cost. 2 is reputation, 3 is reputation of the institution. So reputation of the program first, then reputation of the institution. We have all 3 of these. We completely have the ability to compete very effectively in this space. And when I say compete, it almost sounds like too businessy, right? Like, oh, why are we competing? It's because these are the students that we need to serve. As an institute, well, actually as a state, we are a net exporter of online degrees. That means that substantially more students are actually taking online degrees from institutions out of the state rather than institutions in the state. And as a mission-centric institution, we need to have an option for those students. We only had 10 programs, 10 online programs total. That includes 3 certificates, so 7 online programs. I'm looking at you back there. You lived through this with us. We have 15 now, so that's like plus 50%. And it's nowhere near enough. We need absolutely 50 at A&M alone, 100 total. If you look at other successful institutions, you're looking at anywhere from 100 to 200 online programs. And then I get asked sometimes, like, where are we? And I want to just contextualize this a little bit. So these are programs and courses. The reason I rolled like all this online data together is because if it was just students in online programs, this would look even worse, right? Because we have, as of this day, we have 1,127 students in online programs. That represents a 36% increase since I got here, and is still nothing. We have a lot of work to do. So this is data, and this is IPEDS data, so this is NCES data. But if you look at this, I didn't even include, except for Western Governors, which is a nonprofit, that's sort of a unique institution, I just included things that you would consider similar. So Penn State University is probably the closest. Southern New Hampshire University is where I came from, which is primarily online. These are 2017 numbers, I believe. But if you look at other R1s, like University of Illinois, they have 33,000 students who are taking an online class, like at least an online class. So if we're even just considering, so that this would include the 900 odd folks, 800 odd folks who were online and fully online programs in 2017 here, plus all of the students who were taking an online class. I mean, this is an order of magnitude away from our peers. And so it's really important that we offer courses and programs that our students need, because it's online. It's not like they're going to take it, they're just not going to take it from us. And this is the fun part. Can you press play for me? Who's seen this?
Today's learner seeks an education that is relevant, affordable, and accessible. At LSU Online, our mission speaks to this need. We are working every day to create high-quality learning experiences combined with world-class customer service. As the flagship institution of Louisiana, we offer our online students the same high-quality degrees as our on-campus students. But what sets LSU Online apart? And what is the experience like for the online student? What starts at the beginning? From the moment you apply, a dedicated concierge member will be assigned to guide you from application all the way to graduation. They are here to help answer questions and be your eyes and ears on the ground to make the entire process as smooth as possible. All right, so you're now enrolled as an online student. What comes next? Online courses are broken out into modules with multiple opportunities for engagement and interaction with peers and the instructor. This will be in the form of lessons, forums, and assignments. Instructors also have flexible virtual office hours to support student questions. Now that you've started your coursework, you may be wondering, how will I be graded? Many of our courses offer authentic project-based assessments that allow you to apply what you learned, going beyond multiple choice exams, which you can take from anywhere in the world. If you want to learn more about our programs, visit online.lsu.edu. Or if you're ready to get started with your LSU Online degree, contact a concierge member at 833-280-5634 or email us at lsuonline@lsu.edu. And remember, go Tigers.
The peppy music continues for a second. There's a little weird thing about my presentation tool that I always have to click over for the next one. So how many of you have seen that before? Awesome! I get so excited. So that really is what our whole experience is about, is that we are treating folks the way we would want to be treated as post-traditional learners. And I'm not going to tell you the story of what I went through again, but I am going to say that this is a unique model for a flagship. So we're not a Penn State World Campus, we're not standing up a separately accredited institution, we're not Colorado State Global, we are a services and support division within the university. We also provide services and support to Alexandria and Eunice, and for one program at Shreveport, and we're working on some others. So these are the things that we do, and it occurs to me that these are maybe a little too small to read. We provide academic technology support to our partners. We also provide program and governance tools and guidance through the process. We have course design and development support, technology integration and tool support, faculty professional development, which I'm really excited about. We do marketing, recruitment, retention. Every single student has a named learner concierge. So when you call the institution, you don't get financial aid, unless you call the financial aid office directly, then you get financial aid. But you have a person. You have Susie or Sally, or a lot of them are women actually. The majority of them are women. But you call someone, you get somebody, and they close the loop. If you have a financial aid question, they will either give you the answer, they will refer you and do what we call a soft handoff, which means they call the person and do a transfer. And then also regulatory compliance. So we had a few regulatory things that we had to tweak, but now we are mainly in compliance, which is fantastic. And then we also do what we call our graduation victory lap. So we really celebrate our graduates, and it's been kind of a cool thing. We have, I think, over 70 videos now online from our students, which are really fantastic. If you get a chance to see them, it really kind of hits your heart how much this means to people. And they are, I'm just going to keep pointing to you, they are very like LSU centric. Like coming to LSU, it's a very meaningful experience for them. So what is the big picture vision? So this is creating a path for every student at LSU is really what we're trying to do, from professional development, like just-in-time learning and training that we do through digital and continuing ed on the non-credit side of the house, through undergraduate micro-credentials, certificates, all the way up. And the reason that this is really important is that increasingly folks are saying in order to advance, they need quote-unquote training. What we want them to do is come to us to get that training, slide it into education, and put them on a path towards a degree, right? So I don't want someone to get training and then have it not be meaningful towards progress towards a degree. I want them always to be on a degree path at LSU. And sometimes they're not ready to commit to a full program, right? This is why graduate certificates are actually growing at a greater rate than graduate degrees. And then if you see on the left-hand side, does this have a pointer? No, I'm about to turn it off. I'm not going to do that. So if you see on the left-hand side, it says prior learning. Prior learning assessment is a really critical part of this to meet our mission for those post-traditional learners. So just a little bit about what we've done to date, and there are a lot of words up here. So we actually have built the majority of the infrastructure that we need. And by built, I mean minimum viable product. We have a lot of work to do to continue to build these things, but the structure is in place to grow. So we are 100% open for business. If you are interested in putting a program online, contact us, we will get it done. So we have our learning experience design team in place. That was actually the first team that was created, and that's not accidental. Our #1 goal is high quality learning experiences. Recruitment and marketing team is in place. We also insource this, so we're not sending 50% of our tuition revenue out of state to Dallas. I don't have anything against Texas. I just would rather hire those people here in Louisiana. We also have partnered with ITS. 17 months later, it's been quite the journey, but Mainframe is finally programmed to be able to offer undergraduate online degrees. #Mainframe. And then we have Basecamp in order for all of our project management tools. So if anyone has seen all of the gazillions of, Arat's smiling at me. Do you get spammed by Basecamp? You get a lot, you're on too many programs, that's your problem. So we have Basecamp to keep all of our communication rolling, and you can get auto updates and things. We are getting into a little bit of a reply all situation with Basecamp, but we're working on it. And then enrollment in programs. So again, we launched 5 programs. We now have 15. Our enrollments have grown 22%. That's fall to fall. And then course development. We have created over 70 courses. And then we also have a bunch that are, I think, another 50 through our partner institutions. And then I think about 20 in our non-credit side of the house. So last year at this time, I stood here and I said we needed to create 87 courses. We blew that out of the water, blew it out of the water. And then our program process is in place. This one has been messy because when I came here, there hadn't been a program that had been stood up in 4 years. And the governance process is different for every single kind of program. If it's change of modality, if it's a new program, if it's graduate, undergraduate. So we got that settled. Technology, again, the 17 months, so these are big, big challenges. Our aging technology is just not meant to support this type of ecosystem, this type of architecture. It's not, it's very fragile, it's brittle, and it's concerning to all of us. And that's one of the things that we're very dependent on, that as the virtual space is our college campus. And then blended programs, there's certain things that we were talking about, like really interest in creating blended programs and doing some other things. There's limitations with mainframe and also with how much effort are we going to put into programming something that we're hoping to not be with forever, hopefully not. And then the big thing is we're filling software holes with humans right now. So we're plugging things with manual things that we should be able to do automatically. We're having like literally humans like redirect emails, other parts, and doing all sorts of things that you really want to put that talent to place, doing something more fun. Governance, pace, again, if I could throw this that far, I'd hit you on the head with it. We're dealing with the same issue, is pace of standing up new programs, and sometimes a willingness to stand up new programs. So what we love to do is talk to faculty in person. I would love to bring my team to meet with you and your faculty to hear about, are there challenges, are there things you want to know about, what can we do to show you the actual courses, to show you the actual student experience, and then also what is LSU Online, right? So we're not a college, we're a services and support division, so we're here to serve the university, and that's very intentional. No student gets a degree from LSU Online. An LSU student is an LSU student is an LSU student. That's why the rigor is so important. Am I running over time? That was the gentle. I knew I was going to have to get the hook. And then the market competition is moving really fast. I'm going to move faster. These are our program launches, and I will share with you the link so that everybody can do them. I want to say spring 19. If you have something that just needs a change of modality, send it to us. We'll get it online. We'll make it happen. All right, and then what we need to become competitive. So really is a numbers game. We need to have workforce applicability, we need to get ahead of the marketplace, and then we need to move as fast. I also have, in the presentation that I will be sending out, I also have a couple of really interesting email exchanges that I put in there. There was this one lady who, and it'll be in the link, she's been working as a real estate and construction professional with her husband. They have a company for 25 years. And this is the job that she had that put her 3 daughters through LSU. And she sent us an email and she said, it's my time. I'm so excited you guys have online degrees. It's my time. Then there's a subsequent email. We did her transcript analysis. She needed 95 credits. This is why prior learning assessment is so important. She runs a $3 million company. She has all of this experience in construction, in marketing, in real estate. She's not going to come to us if we make her take, intro to real estate again. That's probably not a class, but you get my point, right? So actually, Chuck Berryman, who runs that program, his faculty have been very much on the front end of this, and they actually have crosswalk certifications. So if she can go and get the certification through an exam based on her years and years of experience, they can take off, they can knock that out as a series of courses for her. But that's our student. She's actually a little bit older than our average student, she's 58. But like, how powerful is the LSU Online brand? I mean, it's LSU, right? She's like bleeding purple and gold. We don't want to cut our students, that came off wrong. But the point is, it's in her veins, and we need to be able to have an option for that student too.
Thank you.
Questions?
I have a question from
Yeah.
prospective employers.
Yes.
How do they perceive these? Because we have so much in the past sham out
Yes.
online programs.
Yes, yes.
So how they value whatever we're offering against the traditional degrees?
Yep.
And how do you improve that? How do you spread the word?
Absolutely.
So our program does good.
Yeah.
So how do they feel about it? How do they feel about it?
Most of them don't care.
They don't care.
Most of them do not care if it's an online or a face-to-face brand. If you had asked me that same question 10 years ago, the data would have been very, very different. But when you have brands like the University of Pennsylvania Online, Boston University just launched a $25,000 MBA, MIT, you can actually get into a master's program.
But these are known programs. How about the unknown ones? How do they know?
So something like, it depends on the field. If you're in a field like IT and you have a degree from Western Governors University that is entirely online, those students actually get a whole bunch of certifications. So their summative assessments are certification exams. So you get a student that has like Salesforce certification, Microsoft certification, I don't know all the certifications. That's actually looked on very well in the field. They would rather have a student that has a bunch of third-party certifications in addition to the degree. Certain institutions do have reputation issues. Mostly those are for-profits, right? So we live in a very different space than the for-profits. So we're not, I mean, we'll be happy to take the students that are in Louisiana that are unfortunately have to go to Capella now, or have to go to, you know, University of Phoenix because we don't have a program for them. Those degrees, I think, have a different value. But again, it depends on the field, right? So I used to work in a community college, and there were a lot of professionals that were getting EDDs online from Capella or from Walden. In the community college space that I was in at that time, it did negatively impact their degree. It was considered a terminal degree. Depends on the audience, student, field.
Are faculty doing this as part of their regular teaching duties, or are they getting paid extra?
Yes, very good question. So this is an important point. So we do not pay faculty or determine faculty models. So that is college decision, department decision. Some departments want it to be on-load, some want it to be ad-comp, some want only tenured faculty teaching it, some do not want their tenured faculty teaching it. So it is a diverse range of models, but we don't hire or compensate faculty. The exception is that in the development process, if it is a scalable program, we do provide a stipend for participating in the process.
Is there a lot of extra work the faculty would have to do? Or
Yeah.
online?
Well, when designing it, yeah. If it's well
Like
designed,
running it? I mean, how many people are we talking about taking it?
it all depends. So for example, in English, English says like 27 or something, and other ones like you can have hundreds. It all depends on what the course subject area is, how much support you have. Do you have graduate assistants in there? Do you not? And again, those are all things that we can help support those conversations with some data and some examples, but those would be departmental decisions.
I know that LSU Online is intended for the post-traditional, the older student, but can you imagine it becoming attractive to the traditional 18 to 22-year-old?
So I don't think our 18 to 22-year-old that we serve here now, I mean, it's so hard to predict like 10, 20 years out. There's really so much of this experience at a flagship is the coming of age, is the campus participation, is that part. One of the trends we're seeing though is traditional students taking more and more of their courses online, but as traditional students. So not taking a full program online, but taking a greater percentage of their courses online. Some of this too is more as the cost of higher education keeps going up, more of our students have to work.
Currently, will TOPS cover?
Yes, and good question, if your student for some reason had to withdraw, they can come back and actually let us know, we'll recruit them for fall too. But they can use, they can use TOPS. So if we lost a student and they want to continue their TOPS eligibility, they actually can with LSU Online. Yeah.
Are there any additional questions for Vice Provost Thackaberry? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Next up, we have our Associate Dean of Libraries, Lois Kuyper-Rushing, and she's going to update us on the collections that Elsevier, right?
Elsevier.
And, right, all things libraries, I guess.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
So I want to thank Mandy and the Faculty Senate Executive Committee for inviting me here today. I'm actually here in Stanley Wilder's place. He's the dean. He's out of town at a conference right now, so he's not available. We will start with the Elsevier cancellation update. Those of you who were here in Faculty Senate last year will remember this conversation, and for those who weren't, I'll give just a brief sort of encapsulate that project. In May 2019, the Faculty Senate passed Resolution 1905, and there were a couple of whereas statements as usual. The first was that Elsevier will cost at least $2 million in 2020 when we would be up for re-upping that that subscription. And because new document delivery technologies are available, we decided to try a different model for this, where we would cancel the package deal for Elsevier journals, and we would subscribe title by title up to $1 million. So we have, in the meantime, honed our plan. There are a few specifics I can share with you. The first $750,000 we will spend on the highest usage Elsevier titles. The next $250,000 will be spent on titles chosen by the libraries in consultation with the Provost based on faculty recommendations, and those faculty recommendations will come from two groups. The first is the Faculty Advisory Task Force on Elsevier subscriptions, and the second is the soon-to-be named Faculty Senate Library Committee. So, who are these people that are going to be making these decisions? This is a list of the people that have been recruited for the Elsevier Task Force. We thank every one of them for their commitment and willingness to spend the time with us making these decisions. Most of them are STEM faculty, some are not. The non-STEM titles will be represented by the broader range Faculty Senate Library Committee. So we will have a broad section of folks available to help us make these decisions. So we talked about in the two whereas statements, the Elsevier cancellation being aided by this new technology available in our interlibrary loan. So right now, articles requested using traditional interlibrary loan services arrive in 24 to 48 hours. We're using that as a broad, well, whatever, statement of how long it takes. Actually, many of them come much sooner than that, which in your individual colleges, those numbers change, but a lot of them do come much sooner than that. In limited trials this summer, when we at the library requested Elsevier articles through traditional services, they were delivered much more quickly. And so we are hoping that this is what our faculty will find just using the traditional methods of requesting articles. But the new expedited services deliver articles in around 2 hours and sometimes more quickly than that. So what's the difference? Why use one or the other? The traditional interlibrary loan costs that the library pays on an annual basis are not affected by volume. So if you use your traditional interlibrary loan service, you won't be incurring extra costs for the library. The expedited service will cost about $30 per article that will be paid by the library for those articles that you order. This expedited service will be available only for canceled Elsevier titles, and they will be available late nights and weekends. So what we're thinking is that you as the user will see very little difference because the titles that you have available today will be available in a very short period of time so that your experience will be very much like what it is today. If you want further information on the Elsevier project, you can go to the library's web page right on the front. There is a link to Elsevier, which gives you a lot more information on this. If you have journal titles that you would like to suggest be considered, there is the website, there is the email address, I'm sorry, it also is found on the website. So we'll talk more about that, or I will entertain questions on that at the end. But right now I want to move on to another activity or exciting initiative at the libraries. I'm sure you have heard about the university's zero-cost textbook initiative, and the libraries is supporting this in two main ways. The first is that we now have print textbooks on reserve in the library. These are classes using texts without the online access code, so that all you need is the text. You don't need the access code. And it's for classes with 50 or more students. These are mostly undergraduate classes. And I just want to say that 14 of these textbooks were purchased by student government, who brought the idea to us, and we said certainly we'd love to add these to our collection on reserves. Another way that we are and have been supporting this zero-cost initiative is by offering hundreds of thousands of e-textbooks that are available through the library that are zero cost to the students. We purchase these materials, make them available to students, and they are available as classroom materials. These are already saving students money. We've been doing this for about 5 years, and they're affecting a number of classes. So this is, I don't know if you can read that, cumulative e-textbook student savings, $5.5 million. Let me tell you how we came up with that number. We took the cost of an individual e-textbook, each individual textbook, and multiplied it by the number of students enrolled in that class. These admittedly are potential savings, but this is what it could have been worth to our students if all of these books had been adopted, and no, they all were adopted for classes, if they had all been promoted by faculty on our campus. The classes that over the last 5 years have used these textbooks is just over 1,500. And you can see each year it's gone up a little bit. This fall is not, we're not quite finished with those counts yet. This is where they are for right now. So let's say you wanted to find a textbook for your class. There is a course adoption textbook page. You can just Google e-textbooks and LSU Libraries and find it. And I wanted to show you this. This is the student page. And if you go down just a little bit, you'll see that, keep going, these are the books that we have now that are already identified as class textbooks. And students can come here, search for the book that they want, and see if it is, or by the class number, to see if it's available for them. And then I wanted to show you if you are a faculty member, which you all are, and want to find whether there's a textbook for you available, you can go to this page, and just to show you what it would look like, let's say that you are looking for a textbook for your class on yeast technology. Did I spell that? Technology, all right. And here you can see that there are actually 5 books available here. And the top one is one that is already in our library. The rest, all you have to do is click on the button and we will order that book and have it available to you as quickly as you can imagine. This, let me go back. This is a database filled with 400,000 ebooks that the libraries, that meet the library's criteria that we either own or could own. So if you would please investigate this for your classes, share it with your colleagues. We and your students would all appreciate this very much. We believe it is a matter of getting the word out to our students. So please look at it and help your students have a zero-cost experience. And after this last summer and all the news about the library buildings, I wanted just a quick update here. Hill Memorial Library has a new roof. We're thrilled with that. It's protecting staff and valuable collections. Middleton's basement issues have been addressed. The water has been contained. The wall is under construction. We are thrilled with that. Our staff and collections are safe and dry. Another thing I just wanted to announce is our newly redesigned space on Middleton's first floor. As you enter Middleton, turn to the right, you'll see a beautiful new space that was designed for today's student with lots of electricity, lots of comfortable seating, lots of collaborative spaces, also places for private, absolutely be by yourself kind of study. This is designed for students, but any of you who want to come by, have a meeting there, get a coffee, come back and meet here. We would be thrilled to have you there. Here's a picture of that space. These spaces begin to fill up the minute the library opens in the morning. The students love these spaces and they populate it all day long. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much.
If we have an ebook that you find and you want to use it, do you purchase that or how do you get it from this?
Yes, from this list, for example.
If it's not on that list, if it's not on your list.
If it's not on our list, you can send it to us. The one point that I will make is that it has to be it has to meet the criteria. So it has to be DRM free. It has to be multiple access for students so it's not just a single user. It has to be downloadable so students would be able to use it and take notes. Not all ebooks you find online are available for that. And this vetted list is one that has been, well, this list has been vetted for those things. But you are welcome to send us a request, an update, and we'll check it out to see if it could be made available to your students.
This book business, for the authors, they usually get 3 to 7.5% is the maximum most of the author gets, while the hard copies are published by the students. But nowadays I see I am teaching a class of 62 students, 3 or 4 students bought the book. So they get the electronic copy or some from some website, they get all those things. So what is the after effect of this thing when it is in the electronic media and we are producing it, and eventually we will see after 10 years or 15 years, professors are not writing any book because they are not getting anything, neither the publishers are getting much money.
My understanding, now I may be totally wrong, is that if they are getting it through this medium, they are being published by upstanding monograph publishers who pay you your rights no matter what. Now, any more than that, I don't know the answer to. And this is a service that we give, frankly, to help students with their costs. That is the driving force behind this.
For the interlibrary loan, can all students also use that and get rapid response?
Graduate students, yes. We have, for the expedited service, that's available only for graduate students. Undergraduates can use interlibrary loan though.
And still get something for the,
Yeah, that doesn't change, right? That it doesn't, our service doesn't discriminate according to your status at the university.
Lois, is there a target date on when the list of journals that
Oh, yes,
are included?
the $750,000 worth, yes. So the ones that we know about, we have the list. It's really ugly right now, and it's has 1,000 extra columns, etc. So we are working to make that a usable, readable document that we will send to Faculty Senate, and they can distribute it through their reviews.
Additional questions? All right, well, volunteer for that library.
Absolutely,
So, and as a reminder, please do fill out, does everyone have a nomination form? So, if not, we can pass them out. Do you have some? Okay, does anyone else need a nomination form? All right, well, please fill those out with your friends, your former friends, or your future friends, or yourself, so that we can fill those committees. And certainly we look forward to the input on the Elsevier subscriptions. That will be very important to have United Faculty voice, and at least representative of all colleges. All right, next up, former president and our illustrious Professor Ken McMillin will be looking for people to move forward with the Constitution.
So on your sheet, look on the back, there is space to fill library. So right underneath of it, put Constitution and bylaws if you want to serve on that committee. I'm looking for 4 or 5, preferably people who have had some faculty governance experience and understand why we need to revise the bylaws, primarily with committee structure. But if you have a colleague that you want to recommend, again, write in their name, we'll contact them, and if they say yes, they'll be on the committee, and if they decline, no, same with you. So if you're not sure, put down your name, I'll contact you, and then if you say, nah, I decided I don't want to, or I already have another class that I've decided to teach online, not a problem, but we, again, are looking for nominations, because after all, this is your Faculty Senate Constitution and bylaws. It's not mine, it's not Dr. Lopez, it's not the executive committee. We want it to be a workable document for the future. So it's been a long time since we made any major revisions. Some of you remember that the last revision was 2 years ago. So before that, it was about 6 years. So every document needs some updating. So if you want to serve on that committee, I would welcome to serve with you.
All right. Thank you, Professor McMillin. But remember, it is a living document, and we do need to keep it, well, alive and I guess versatile, and certainly contemporary, according to contemporary terms and practices. All right. With that, I believe our meeting has come to a close. Is there a motion to adjourn? And a second? And all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Grab some cookies on your way out. And sign up for committees, please.